I found a source of discarded corrugated plastic signs, and I was ready to jump right in and make something. This is my first project, an outdoor pet shelter. I'm very much inspired by what I've seen other people make, and I'm at the beginning of my own deep dive into the corrugated plastic rabbit hole. If you'd care to join me, I'll show you how I made this pet shelter, and I'll tell you what I've learned so far about working with this very cool material. My plan was rough, but I made some pretty good decisions at this stage, so it worked out okay. These lines represent the direction of the little walls between the top and bottom layers of plastic. I knew that folding along those walls would be easier. I knew that I'd be using zip ties as attachments, and so I used tabs or flaps like this one, in this case to attach the roof, adding zip ties in such a way that the holes wouldn't lead to the interior of the space, so I wouldn't have to worry so much about water getting in. I minimized the number of cuts I'd have to make. The roof, for example, was made of one uncut sheet of plastic. Each of these signs is 3 feet by 4 feet by 0.157 inches. I made each of the side walls exactly 1/2 sheet. I think these were all good choices for a first project. I never regretted keeping things as simple as possible. My plan included a rear wall for the structure that would fold upward. This would give me easier access to the inside of the structure. It would also give my kitty an escape route in case she had some sort of problem with one of her neighborhood antagonists. One of the shortcomings of my plan is that I didn't bother to be very precise about my measurements. As you can see, there are no measurements on this drawing. So I didn't really have a good idea how big it was going to be. So I put off even thinking about the door until the thing was a little further along and I could see how big it was. So my plan was rough, but it served me pretty well. My toolkit, on the other hand, left a lot to be desired. A good knife is an absolutely essential tool. Zip ties are to corrugated plastic as nails are to wood. They really do a great job of holding the various parts together. My pencil didn't write well on the plastic, so I used a pen. It also didn't erase well. So I'm still looking for something that leaves a good mark that's easily removed. A good straight edge is invaluable for drawing and cutting straight lines. I improvised. Some sort of cutting board is important. I put a couple of big cuts in this nice floor mat. I should have known better. My improvised tool for folding the corrugated plastic was a small table. By the end of this project, I was hot on the trail of a better method for first creasing and then folding the plastic. But I'm still looking for an acceptable tool. This cleaver allowed me to break the little walls inside the plastic, making it easier to fold. Unfortunately, the ends are sharp enough to cut the plastic. I'm looking for some sort of wide chisel Or maybe I'll just buy a cheap cleaver and blunt the edges. If you have any ideas, please leave them in the comments. The nail wasn't bad for making holes through 2 layers of plastic. The holes needed to be a little wider than the nail hole, and there were a lot of holes to make. Threading the zip tie through immediately helped keep the holes lined up. It seems clear enough that what I need for this is an awl of some sort, but I'm still looking. The topmost sheet of plastic that you see here is one of the side walls. I'm attaching it to the roof. Once I had the 2 side walls attached, I had to start figuring things out on the fly. At this point, my plan was of minimal use to me. Remember, it has no measurements. What I finally ended up doing was attaching one full sheet to one of the sides, and then holding the parts that I had into the shape that I wanted, and then marking the bottom. At this point, I had the numbers for the bottom and the sides. I just needed to figure out the peak. Once I had the front cut out, I made a decision on how to deal with the door. As per my plan, the front attached to the side walls and not to the floor. First time my kitty stepped into her house, the floor sagged, which kind of freaked her out. Reinforcement was needed. I cut 3 strips and attached them to the bottom. The piece I cut from the floor wedged nicely into the roof as a sort of awning for the front to provide some extra protection from rain. The floor still moves a bit. It might have been better to put that right on the ground. It's light enough to blow away in a strong wind. The solution to this may be to enclose some bricks in the bottom, or maybe just place some inside. I've got it in a corner between a fence and a shed, wedged in place with a potted plant. That works too. It's large enough for probably a medium-sized dog, which is probably a bit big for a kitty. I think it looks good. I could trim the zip ties, and I could paint it, of course, if I wanted to. Overall, I'd say this project was a success. I'll apply what I learned to my next project, and I'll be looking to add some tools to my toolkit. Thanks for watching. Hope it's been a good trip. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can be sure to hear about my next video.